my name is Miss Cheryl. I'm going to read you a story from the Bible. This story is about a man and a woman, and their names were Abraham and Sarah. This story took place a long, long time ago. I want you to listen for what God said to Abraham. Abraham was a rich man who lived in the city of Haran with his wife Sarah. They were both old and to their great sadness had never had any children. One day God said to Abraham, I want you to go to the land of Canaan. There I will make you the father of a great nation. Abraham didn't understand what God meant, but he always did what God told him to do. Soon he started out for Canaan with Sarah, his nephew Lot, and his wife, and all his servants and his herds of sheep and goats. It was a very long journey, but at last they reached the new land and put up their tents. I have some pictures of their journey. Here you see a picture of Sarah sitting on a donkey. They didn't have cars back then. You see Abraham walking beside her, and in the background you see all the servants coming to support them. Then they have a camel here. Probably the camel was carrying supplies for them. In this picture, you see that the road isn't paved. It was a dirt road. And you can see sandals on their feet. Probably a hard journey, and they probably moved very slowly. In this picture, you see the herds, the sheep and the goats, and you see the men who took care of the animals. At first, there was plenty of grass and water for Abraham's herds of sheep and goats, and for Lot's herds as well. But as the years passed, the herds grew bigger and bigger, and there wasn't enough food for all of them. It's time for us to part, Abraham said to Lot. You can choose wherever you want to go. I'll go down to the valley. There's plenty of good grass and water there, Lot said. I'll stay here on the hill, said Abraham, although he knew the food and the water wasn't so good. Lot and his wife said goodbye to Abraham and Sarah and led their sheep down the valley. God again promised Abraham that he would make his family into a great nation. One hot afternoon some years later, when Abraham was sitting in his tent, he saw 3 men crossing the hills. When they came nearer, he went out to meet them. Come to my tent, Abraham said to the strangers. You can wash and rest there and have a meal. Sarah and the servants made fresh bread, roasted some meat on the fire, and gave the 3 men bowls of milk and cheese. I have some pictures of this too. Here's a picture of them at their tent. And you can see the sheep out front and the 3 men talking to Abraham. And there's a fire where they cook the bread and roast the meat. When the feast was over, one of the men said, We have a message from God for you. You and Sarah will have a baby boy. Now remember, Sarah and Abraham are old. So we're both much too old to have children, laughed Sarah. But the months went by and Sarah gave birth to a son. She called him Isaac. Abraham and Sarah were delighted that they had a child at last. And Abraham remembered that God had told him he would be the father of a great nation. What a great story. Do you remember in the story what God told Abraham? I bet a lot of you do. He told Abraham he would be the father of a great nation. Well, we're going to read another story that follows this next time. I'll see you next time.